this was a course in which students had to create group presentations, right? Nothing new there. And one of the most interesting things that I've heard over these use case interviews is that there is actually a benefit to doing some things online. Even though we were, of course, all forced into hybrid situations with COVID or fully online, there have been some takeaways which has shown that some things are better when you can prepare for them asynchronously. So specifically, if we think about these group presentations in this marine botany class, these groups, and the student cohort was, I think, not so huge, about 65 students split up into groups of 3 or 4. They would work over the whole semester on this poster presentation and then present it at the end to all their peers at the end of the course. Now, I don't know if you've had group presentations before at the end of your courses and had to stand in front of the class with your PowerPoint, right? And then at the end you ask, are there any questions? And it's like Zoom. There's sometimes a deafening silence, right? You'll have 1 or 2. But in this use case, that opportunity to ask questions was posed a week before the presentation. So the groups would already prepare their presentation, upload it using our tools, put it on the platform, and the teacher mandated that every group, every individual watched other groups' presentations and generated that question beforehand. So when it came to the actual presentation a week later, everyone had a question, and the instructor was shocked. This doesn't usually happen, right? When we're put on the spot, just like me getting started with this interview, when we're put on the spot with a question, it's sometimes hard to generate an answer. It's sometimes hard to think, even if you've got a ton to say or ask, which I do, definitely. Structuring those thoughts, prioritizing, framing them, that can be difficult. So for me, the crux of this use case was giving students enough time to prepare by letting them see the content beforehand in the platform, pose that question, and then give them a week to digest that and even address it inside their presentation if they want to. That was the takeaway for me. And the other thing about this, equally important, is that group dynamics can be very hard to keep an eye on, whether that's in person or probably especially if you're hundreds, thousands of miles away from your students. You've never seen them face to face, let alone how they interact with each other. How then do you have any earthly idea what's going on in the group? Well, of course, there are some tools, there are some ways you can keep track on pieces of paper how things are going. But again, back to scaling that, having this opportunity for groups to give feedback to each other with this tool we have called group member evaluation, right? Having this feedback opportunity scaffolded, structured, announced by the teacher really lets students know, okay, I'm working in a group project. Some students hate group projects. I just did a podcast, I'll talk about it a little bit later, about group work. And you've got these problems that keep coming up, right? Free riding, unequal distribution of tasks and labor, unclear roles. And I'm certainly not saying FeedbackFruits is a miracle cure for every problem, but I will say that when it comes to having transparency about group dynamics, these tools, these interfaces are really the way to go to generate that data, to have it in one clear oversight.
Sure.
So, yeah, I mean, talked about a lot of things there, but generally it's about transparency and about preparation and giving students the time to be able to do those things.